had Mike Waltz just accepted the responsibility as he did last night on television, or had they led it to the original National Security Advisor, National Security Council statement that just kind of admitted that there was this conversation and it was not meant to go to reporters, I don't think we would be talking about it, certainly not internationally right now. But because of the repeated attempts to kind of explain it away, I think it's made it worse.
Here to take us through all the big headlines of all those details is Caitlin Doornbos, of DC reporter for the New York Post, who's actually arrived in Denmark. Good evening, Caitlin.
I'm in Greenland.
I'm
yes.
sorry, you are in Greenland. That's right, where JD Vance is due to arrive. How controversial is his visit there?
So I'm finding it pretty controversial with the Danes who live here, but among the native Icelanders, the Inuit here, very, very pro-Trump and interested in U.S. engagement. They are interested in kind of diversifying the influence of the Danes here in Iceland and have been open to me. Now, the Danish and Danish-born residents here have been less than welcoming, but not all of them. I come in obviously with my American accent, and I am friendly and we have conversations, but it's really interesting to get to know the local culture of politics here in the capital city, which is only 20,000 people population, is what I understand.
What's J.D. Vance been saying about Greenland, and I guess by extension what Trump has been saying about it?
Yeah, I guess what we should do is kind of back up and look at why the United States wants a partnership with Greenland. I mean, I know that it's been amplified as annexation, but I really don't think it will go as far as annexation or some kind of military overtaking. What the United States is looking for, what Trump is looking for, is access to critical minerals and security details, basically getting more, I don't know if it's going to be more troops on the ground, but it's more U.S. military presence in Greenland because of the competition that's happening now in the Arctic between Russia, China, and the United States.
And is that the game plan then of Donald Trump? Is it purely security strategy, decisions around this? How much of it is about Trump's place on the world stage and his I guess position vis-a-vis Putin and how whether he's viewed globally as a strong man? Is that part of it at all, or it is a purely strategic decision?
I think that's trying to get too far into psychology that I'm comfortable with. Honestly, I think that it is this national security interest, largely driven, I think, by Mike Waltz, who, oddly enough, is not going to be coming on this trip now, with JD Vance coming in his place. He was originally supposed to come with Mrs. Vance, but Mike Waltz has been advocating for Arctic expansion by the U.S. and purchasing icebreaker ships for our military to be able to do more exploration in the Arctic. So I think a lot of this was actually driven by Mike Waltz.
Do we assume that Mike Waltz is not turning up to this trip now due to his rather unfortunate act of including the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in that private signal discussion?
That is my understanding per the Associated Press, but I have not heard or seen any official announcement that he is not coming. That includes multiple messages of mine to the National Security Council, but I understand that they have been very busy with comments from reporters today.
Let's just turn briefly, if we can, to that story of the signal discussion, because The Atlantic published more details of what was said in it today, really laying out the level of classified information, the detail of the attacks. What did we learn, do you think, from the publication of those full discussions?
I will tell you, as a military and war reporter of about 7 years now, I think I've been covering this beat, that's the most information I have ever seen publicized. It was really something. However, the White House continues to double down and triple down and quadruple down that it was not classified information. I think that there's a lot of semantics that are involved in the denial of that. because when you look on its face at what it was, which was a minute-by-minute strike plan that the Secretary of Defense texted to this group on Signal, that is top secret classification under the Office of the Director of National Intelligence Standards. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, she's the Director of National Intelligence. She says that DoD follows a different classification system, and Hegseth could somehow declassify things for the group in the Signal chat. But again, I mean, let's just take this as a spade. If we call a spade, this was information that was not supposed to be out to a reporter.
No, I don't think they ever imagined it would be, and it's clearly extremely embarrassing for them. I've got some sympathy for Trump on one level. I mean, to be fair to him, in terms of which head should roll, who should he get rid of? I mean, given the cast of people who were on this group chat, he'd pretty much clear out his entire White House senior government levels from the vice president down if he was to sanction everyone who was involved in it.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I think that also there are some really critical personnel on that chat. I mean, obviously they're the top members of the executive branch outside of the president, but they are also really solid lawmakers and really solid, like the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. Like I said, he's made huge impacts in national security for the United States during his time as a lawmaker and now in the administration. And there are reports going crazy, questioning his future. I think he'll stay, but who knows? I mean, I really just, even though I cover this administration every single day, I have no idea, and I cannot seem to predict the future here. So I'm just going to tell you exactly what my experts say.
It's no shame in saying you can't predict what Donald Trump will do, Caitlin. That's totally fine. I guess, though, have you got any sense of whether allies of the US look at this story, look at the way that they've handled intelligence and talk about things with each other? Will that pose a problem for international relations with other countries?
Oh, of course it will. And I think all of you in the international community probably know that better than me. But what I will say is that I think had Mike Waltz just accepted the responsibility as he did last night on television, or had they led it to the original National Security Advisor, National Security Council statement that just kind of admitted that there was this conversation and it was not meant to go to reporters, I don't think we would be talking about it, certainly not internationally right now. But because of the repeated attempts to kind of explain it away, I think it's made it worse.
That's clear. And what's your guess, or back to Greenland and where you are at the moment and where J.D. Vance will be arriving, what's your bet on how diplomatic he's going to be with his language, or do you think he's going to use his own feet on the ground to be really spelling out what they want to see happen there with regards to US involvement, ownership or otherwise?
Well, frankly, I woke up today in Greenland and found out that the trip was not going to proceed as I had originally intended.
They're not going dog sledging.
I am flying to the Dog Sled Festival on Saturday.
You are? Oh.
I am, because Vance was supposed to, but now I'm just going to check it out and see what it's like. I'm not ruling it out that she's going. I mean, I'm not saying that she's going. I probably shouldn't have even said that. But what I'm saying is that for sure the only thing that is on the calendar is the visit to the U.S. military base, and that is to not disrupt the Greenland people, not to bring extra attention on it, and not to tick off the Danes too much, because clearly that has already been done with the announcement of her visit earlier this week, now been scaled back to just a military site visit.
I, for one, am here for J.D. Vance on a dog sled. Caitlin Doornbos, DC reporter for the New York Post, live. Thanks very much for joining us this evening.